Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samast Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadguru Brahma Vidvaram Sadguru Brahma Vidvaram. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Puranamunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayani Amba Tvamanusandadami Bhagavad-gite Bhavatveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramarutaha Stunvanti Devyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopaniषadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidutsura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So in this 18th chapter, after having explained all the aspects of karma, Bhagwan Shri Krishna covered the 4 divisions which are universal throughout the world, which he called as the 4 varnas: the intellectuals, the thinkers, the scholars, the brahmanas, the warriors, the administrators, the leaders that are called kshatriyas, the business people and farmers called vaishyas, and then the workers, factory workers, office workers, farm workers called shudras. So these classifications are there throughout the world, where people have these 4 categories of work, and has nothing to do with birth. It has to do with your nature and your work. What work you do, guna karma vibhagashaha, Bhagwan says. According to your gunas, your qualities and your actions, has nothing to do with Brahmana's son automatically becomes Brahmana and Kshatriyas and so on, which is a misinterpretation of the Bhagavad Gita. And then after studying that, we had studied that Bhagwan says, whatever your nature is, whatever your swabhava is, work according to that. And that is how you reach the highest. You exhaust your pre-existing vasanas. You don't create new vasanas, and you reach the highest goal of life, Siddhim vindati manavaha, he says. And he says, make every activity of yours a worship to the Supreme Lord from whom this universe has come, where it is maintained, and where it merges back. Yata pravritti bhutanam yena sarva midam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarchya. Worship him with your activities. So today we'll continue with shloka number 48, where Bhagavan expands a little more on what is this swabhava and what is my sahajam karma, what is my true activity. So chapter 18, shloka number 48. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosamapi natyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena together. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamapi natyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumenagnirivavritaha. As we had mentioned last week, the points that are on the board, which we cover, are also on the Bhagavad Gita WhatsApp. They have been posted there. If you are not on that WhatsApp, let me know at the end of the class and we will add your name. So sahajam karma kaunteya. Sahajam means whatever is your inborn natural duty, karma. O kaunteya, O Kunti's son Arjuna, sadosham api na tyajet. It may not be the highest, it may not be the best, but it is your duty. And you may think it's not as good as, somebody else's work. But even if you think there are faults or there are defects, my work, there is so many problems. Even if that is the case, na tyajet, it should not be given up. Whatever is your natural inborn duty, we'll talk about that, should not be given up. Why? He says, sarva arambha, all beginnings. Arambha means beginnings, undertakings, all activities. In Bhagavad Gita, arambha does not only mean beginning, but all undertakings, all activities. Indeed, he doshena, by fault. There is a defect in every activity. No activity is perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect job. And every activity is covered by defect, just as dhumena agnihi iva avritaha. Just as agni, the fire, is covered by dhuma, by smoke. And wherever you see fire, there is smoke. And fire is always partially obscured by smoke, iva avritaha. So every activity is obscured by some defect, some fault or the other. So what is sahajam karma? Sahajam karma is that which is my inborn ability. Gurudev explains it very well in his commentary. He says there are two different words. What I am born with and what I am born into. What I am born into means which family, which city, which country, which community, which religion, Hindu, Muslim, and so on. So that is where I am born into. And then born with are my certain essential vasanas, intrinsic vasanas, desires, thoughts. And we find sometimes in the same family, there are three children, same parents, same upbringing, same city, but they grow up so different. One becomes a, artist, another one becomes a great scientist, and third one does nothing. He says, just, sometimes gets involved in drugs. So we find that upbringing, of course, has some role. Parents do have a role in molding their child's future, but the intrinsic nature and abilities of the child are what determines what his actions should be. So what we had talked last time, that if somebody has an intrinsic desire for art and you push him towards science and say, oh, I want you to become an engineer or a doctor, he may be very unhappy. He may be successful. Maybe he even make money, but inside he'll say, I wanted to become an artist or an actor. And other way around also, So somebody may want to play sports and he said that is my main interest, but his parents say no, 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 no. So what is the parents have to know and the teachers have to know what is this child's intrinsic ability, his interest, and then encourage that child to do that, because that is how, as Gurudev says, we exhaust existing vasanas, because we have desires. When they are fulfilled in the right way, when my actions not enjoy or indulge, but when these actions are carried out as an attitude of service to Bhagwan, then slowly my actions become unselfish. I have less likes and dislikes, and I do my duty as service, and that exhausts the vasanas. Then I do not create new vasanas. But if I do something that is not my true nature and try to do good in that, I create new vasanas. That's what Gurudev says. And why should we do that? Because in life, there is no such thing as a perfect job. Sarva rambhahi doshena. Everything has defects. You say, oh, doctor's life is great. He helps people, saves life. But you ask his family, he's always gone on call, coming home late at night, get called all the time. Yeah, and it may look glamorous. Same thing, computer, in IT, somebody is very successful and he starts a startup, but how many hours he's spending in front of the computer constantly? And then there's constant worry. Oh, somebody may make a product newer, better than mine, and my company will go down. So every job, a factory owner, a business owner, all the time stressed. Business may not go well. So the point is that there is no such thing as a perfect job. Every job has its challenges, has its problems. The idea is that find what I am good at and then put your 100% effort without ego. And my job should benefit society, should benefit others. I was reading recently, they say, win-win situation where I am, say, competing with somebody and we both come out ahead. That is called win-win. I also do well, you also do well. They say there is a third win. It is win-win-win, where I should win, the other person should win, and society should also win. So that is more important, that through my actions, am I benefiting others? Am I benefiting society? And that can only happen when this I attitude, I, me, and myself, this ego reduces and my actions become pure. And what obscures us is this ego, just as smoke obscures fire. And in Kathopanishad, it is said that Agnir eva adhumakaha. So the only fire that is without smoke is the fire of Atma, the fire of Brahman. So God is the only one illumination that has no smoke, has no impurities, has no defects. Everything else in this world is imperfect. Whoever the person may be, the greatest person, even the greatest, but until the person attains realization, he remains imperfect. And these problems, these defects can be at the body level. We find that body level, we have problems, heat, cold, health, ill health. At the mental level, we have joys and sorrows. at the intellect level, success and failure. So these problems will be there in all situations. It depends on me with my attitude. If my attitude is good, situations will be good. If not, problems are generally within us. I remember this very beautiful story. So there was this old man sitting on a park bench, just across the street from a gas station. He was just sitting, enjoying the sun. It was a cool day when the sun was warming. He was very happy, enjoying himself. And this man comes up, drives up, is filling up gas at the gas station, and he sees this old man sitting. So he goes and says, "Hi." So old man says, "Hi, I haven't seen you before. It was a small town." He says, "Oh no, I just moved here from another town, and I'm going to be staying here maybe for 2, 3 years. I have a job here, so I'm going to be staying here." Old man says, "Oh, welcome to this town." He says, "Yeah, but what I want to know, how are the people in this town? I just moved in. Are they good, bad? How are they?" So old man says, "How about the people where you came from? How were they?" Said, "Oh my God, don't talk about them. They was always gossiping and backbiting and fighting, and I was very unhappy over there. I'm so happy to be rid of that town. I hope this town is better." Old man says, "No, I'm sorry. This town is as bad, maybe worse where you came from. Sorry, nothing." Oh, man fills up the gas. He's gone. Next week, another man drives up, parks his car, filling gas. Old man is sitting there enjoying the sun. And so, same thing, he asked him, "I just moved new to this town. How are the people here? I am a salesman. I'll be stationed here for next 3 years." He says, "How are the people here?" He says, "How are the people where you moved from?" He said, "Oh, don't talk about them. They were so nice. I felt so sad having to leave them. They gave me a farewell party. I almost cried. And, when I left that town, it was so nice. Everybody was friendly. Everybody was kind." Old man says, "The people here are even better than that." So it depends on us. We blame our circumstances that, oh, this person is bad. But ultimately, what is more important is how I deal with people. And that's how, because the world is a reflection. If I look at the world happily, the world will reflect happily. If I look at the world sadly, I'll get sadness back. If I look at the world angrily, I'll get anger back. So the world is a reflection of me. So that's what he says. If you want to change the world, change yourself. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said. Be the change you want to see in the world. But our problem is that we always wonder, what will happen in the next 50 years? We are doing okay, but our children, our grandchildren, there is so many problems in the world, so much conflict and pollution. Kya hoga? Global warming. We always worry. Say, kuch nahi hoga. Same thing will continue. This is only 4 things: ahara, nidra, bhaya, maitunam. These are the 4 things that drive everybody: food, sleep, fear, and procreation. And hundreds of years ago, this same problem was there even when Bhagwan was teaching Bhagavad Gita. That's why Bhagavad Gita is so relevant. In the 8th century, Shankaracharya ji said it very beautifully in Bhaj Govindam. He said, "Balasthavat krida sakta, tarunasthavat taruni sakta, vriddhasthavat chinta sakta, parame brahmani gopina sakta." So he says, in childhood, we are attached to toys. My toy, my teddy bear, my car, my train. In youth, we are attached to the opposite sex. We are attracted to the opposite sex. In old age, we are attached to worry, unnecessarily worry. What is my son doing? And what he's not taking care of my grandson and my granddaughter. And then we try to teach them only when they ask. Otherwise, it is his family, his life, but we worry all the time. So he says, in childhood, toys, in the youth, opposite sex, in the old age, attached to worry, parame brahmani kopi na sakta. Nobody is attached to that Supreme Lord, Brahman. He said, that is whom you should be attached to in all stages of your life, not only after retirement, after 65. Okay, now I will start. No, wherever I am, start this process of attaching to the Lord, and then only you will attain the highest. And what is the highest goal? That is explained very beautifully in the 49th verse, is explained with the process, how to reach the highest. And what is this highest goal is very well beautifully explained in shloka number 49, chapter 18, 49. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spriha naishkarmya siddhim parama sanyasenadhigacchati. Together, asakta buddhi sarvatra jitadma vigata spriha naishkarmya siddhim parama sanyasenadhigacchati. So, what is the highest goal? In the third quarter, he says, Naishkarmya Siddhim Parama. Naishkarmya means, Siddhi means the perfection. And perfection in actionlessness. Naishkarmya Siddhi means actionlessness. What is this perfection in actionlessness? We'll spend some time discussing that. It's a very interesting topic. What do we mean by perfection in actionlessness? So how do we reach? So Bhagavan in the first line, he says, asakta buddhi. Asakta means unattached. Unattached, undepending on, sarvatra, everywhere, in all situations, remaining unattached. Jitatma. Jitatma means mind and senses are under his control. His or her, this individual has the mind and senses under control. And vigata spriha, without desire. Desires have been reduced to a bare minimum. Vigata. And spriha, Buddha describes as the longing, burning fire of attachment. One is I like something, that is okay. But I must have it. I must have it at all costs. It could be a person, it could be a job, it could be money, could be property, could be a thing, could be food. Liking is one thing, but excessive desire where I must have it and I must have more than anybody else. And whatever I do, I will do it. That is called spriha. So Bhagavan says, no spriha. And Naishkarmya Siddhim Paramam we talked about. How does he reach? Sanyasena, through sannyas adhikachati. Sannyas here, Bhagavan has explained earlier in the 18th chapter, does not mean putting on orange clothes, going to the forest, or becoming a priest or a nun and going to a convent. What is sannyas? Sannyas is giving up ego and egocentric actions, that I am the doer, that idea, and that I do not depend on things or situations for my happiness. That is final sannyas. So sarvatra, everywhere, what it means is that in all circumstances, in all situations, at all times, wherever I am, remaining unattached. Unattached does not mean I don't love people or I stop loving my family and go. What it means is that attachment means I depend on something for my happiness. I plus I want. If I have it, I'll be happy. If I don't have, I'll be unhappy. So unattached means happy in all situations. If somebody is with me, very good. If not, I am still happy. And an object, it may be a person, but remaining unattached, happy in all situations. Jitatma, Atma here means the ego, the mind and senses, this idea of doership that I am doing, the person is not dependent on that because God is working through me. We'll talk about that more in the Naishkarmya Siddhi. And Jitatma means mind and senses are under control. Because what happens is that we get so attached to our senses, what I see, hear, smell, taste, touch. I must, constantly watching TV or computer, hearing gossip, smelling good things, tasting, eating good things, touch, we get attached to that. And so it is these five senses which get us caught, and then our mind runs after that. Instead of being here, mind suddenly runs to something else, what I have to do after this class. So mind that is not focused and dependent on senses, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, is called an attached mind. Talking about smelling, this man went to this very high-tech store and he came out and he's talking to his friend. His friend said, "Where did you go?" He said, "I went to this high-tech store." So he said, "What's high-tech about it? It's brand new." He says, "Wherever you go, you can smell whatever is there." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I went to the fruit section and there was smell of fruits everywhere. Like I was in an orchard of fruits, mangoes and berries, and a beautiful smell of fruits I got." So, "Oh, that's nice." Yes, then I went to the vegetable section and I thought I'm in a garden of fresh vegetables. Everything was so beautifully smelling. And it was like you are enjoying the taste of the vegetable just by the smell. He said, "Oh, that's very nice." And then he said, "I went to the flower section. I thought I was in the meadow of flowers. The whole room was fragrant with the smell of the flowers. Very nice." So he said, "But why do you look so unhappy? You went through all that. Why do you look so unhappy?" He said, "Last thing I did was buy toilet paper, and I'm never going to buy toilet paper in that store again." So, so, so being dependent on senses are required for functioning, but not getting excessively attached to anything I see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Is attachment is dependent. And in our scriptures, they have this thing called Prasthantraya. Prasthantraya means three major sources of knowledge that were revealed by Bhagwan himself, by the Lord himself. And they are the basis of our spiritual understanding. So first one is the Upanishads. There are 108 that we know of, but I'm sure there were a lot more because these are thousands of years old. So there are hundreds of Upanishads, 108 that are known, which reveal the highest truth. And how were they revealed? The rishis in their meditation sat and directly heard this Upanishad mantras, and they memorized them and repeated them to their students. That's why it's called Shruti. So Upanishad is one, revealed by God directly to the rishis. The second is Bhagavad Gita. That was revealed by Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself. When he came on earth, he revealed it to Arjuna. So the second is Bhagavad Gita, also revealed by Bhagavan. And the third are called Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras were given to us by Ved Vyasji, Bhagavan Ved Vyasji. And Ved Vyasji is said to be an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So all these three major spiritual works were revealed by the Lord himself to us. That's why they are revered. Now, Naishkarmya, there is a beautiful text called Naishkarmya Siddhi, which was composed by Sureshwaracharya ji, who was a disciple of Shankaracharya ji. Shankaracharya ji is said to be an incarnation of Lord Shiva. So Sureshwaracharya ji composed a text called Naishkarmya Siddhi, where once that person reaches that state of enlightenment, then he attains a siddhi called Naishkarmya. What do we mean by Naishkarmya? Does not mean that the person then does not do any work or becomes useless. Now, there may be few masters who have attained enlightenment and they are sitting in some forest or some cave, but their presence itself is a blessing. But there are other masters like Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda who, after attaining that state, spent the next 43 years traveling through every corner of the globe, sleeping 3 hours a day. He would work hours at a time, travel every day in a different country. Then his followers, his student Swami Tejomayanandaji, also the same thing, every week in a new country. But they all the time abide in that state of enlightenment, where the mind is always in that state. And then when they are doing actions, there are three ways to address it. We have talked about that before. The path of Karma Yoga, where he says, I am a humble instrument in the hands of the Lord. Whatever I do, God is working through me. I do nothing. Na kinchit karomi iti. I don't do anything. God is functioning through me. Second attitude is of bhakta, where he says, my Bhagwan is everywhere. Everything I see is God and God alone. So how can I be separate? Jahan dekhu Ram hi Ram. You know, there is a very famous bhajan, Guru Kripa Payo Mere Bhai. Ram bina kachu dekhat nahi. I don't see anything except Bhagwan, my own Lord. Everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Bhagwan says. So that is the path of bhakti, where God is everything. Who am I? I am nobody. I am just part of that. And then the third path is the path of jnanam, path of knowledge, where he has attained that enlightenment. All three of them are enlightened, but their way of functioning is different. One is an instrument. One sees God everywhere in love. The third one in the path of knowledge says, I and that consciousness are one. That Om and I and that consciousness are one. And the body, mind, and intellect are working as the perceiver, feeler, and thinker in this world of objects, emotions, and thoughts, and according to my nature, according to my vasanas. But his vasanas have become non existent, one who has attained enlightenment. And then he says, my hands are working, my legs are working, but I do nothing because I am that Om, I am that conscious principle. And the person will still work, but he has no idea. He says, Prakriti, Kriyamanani, Gunai Karmani Sarvasha, Ahankar Vimudhatma, Karta Hamiti Manyate. The wise person knows I am the non doer, Prakriti is doing everything. So that idea. So when I am the doer, then I also become the enjoyer or the sufferer. If I have done the action, then I enjoy or suffer. But if I am not doing it, Bhagwan is doing it, then I have no enjoyment, no suffering. I have done my duty. So complete abidance in that state where the person constantly has his mind connected with God, even today in our meditation. Those of you who attended, we do have meditation from 10:20 to 10:50. We talked about Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. God is always residing in our heart. And how to connect with that God will be talking next week in the meditation. So complete abidance, but he says it's so difficult. You know, all my life I have not thought of Bhagwan like that. How can I? So they say it's a gradual process. You start the process. They say the journey of 1,000 miles start with a single step. So begin with the idea that the goal of my life is enlightenment and how can I get closer to God. So listening to the Bhagavad Gita, practicing its teachings, and making it part of my thinking is the spiritual journey. So that is the benefit of studying this knowledge and abiding in this knowledge, where the knowledge and I become one. Right now, this knowledge is Bhagavan Sri Krishna's knowledge or Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda's knowledge, but it should become my own knowledge. I should understand that, and that only will happen with repeated listening and thinking about it, and then trying to apply that. What would Bhagwan Shri Krishna do in this situation? Or what would my guru do in this situation? Or somebody I admire, how that person would work? Or what would make my parents happy? What would make Bhagwan happy? So gradually the thinking shifts. So now we'll go to the 50th shloka, which is, people always say, I don't experience God. They say, I want to experience God. I want darshan, God to appear in front of me. Where is God? Why doesn't he come? Kyo nahi aate? All those. So what is this divine experience? What is this darshan? Bhagwan has explained it very well in shloka number 50. People always say, I want to experience Brahman. They say Brahman is formless. Where is he? How is he? What is he? What does he do? So all those questions we have. So shloka number 50. Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tathapnoti nibodhame समासेनैव कौन्तेय निष्ठा ज्ञानस्य या परा सिद्धिं प्राप्तो यथा ब्रह्म तथाप्नोति निबोध मे समासेनैव कौन्तेय निष्ठा ज्ञानस्य या परा. So siddhim praptah. How can I attain yatha? This siddhi, Brahma siddhi, becoming one with Brahman, knowing Brahman, experiencing Brahman, or knowing the presence of God, experiencing what we call as darshan in the path of bhakti, in the path of jnana, it is called enlightenment. How to attain that? Tatha apnoti. How can one attain this siddhi, this highest goal of human birth is enlightenment, knowing God, becoming one with God. Nibodhame. Bodha means understand. Nibodha means nishchayena bodhame. Understand clearly from me. Bhagavan is telling, not only Arjuna, telling all of us. Listen to me. So how to achieve that goal of enlightenment? But I will tell you samasena. I will tell you brief. Eva Kaunteya. Why? Because Bhagavan has told this. For 17 chapters he has been talking. So 18th chapter is a summary of the Bhagavad Gita. So he says, I will briefly summarize. That's why in the 18th chapter, the entire Bhagavad Gita is covered. All the Karma Yoga is covered. Bhakti is covered. Jnanam is covered. All the gunas are covered. Everything is covered in brief, the entire Bhagavad Gita. So he says, here I will tell you what is the state of enlightenment, which we call Brahma Jnanam, or the experience of Brahma. People always say, Samasena Kaunteya, listen from me, O Arjuna, Nishtha Jnanasya Yapara, this highest Nishtha, this highest abidance in knowledge, and that you hear from me. So why is he saying briefly? Either because A, I have already told you, I am summarizing. Secondly, we have a war to fight. अभी हमको लड़ना है. Now these Kauravas are ready and they are the criminals and we need to finish them. Otherwise, the country will be a mess if we allow them to continue to rule. And because they are crooked, they are immoral, they are dishonest, they have taken the kingdom from you with cheating and all that. So we need to continue the war. We need to. So I'll tell you briefly. And he says, what is this experience of Brahman? He said, I want to attain enlightenment where I see a light and then I see God and he's standing with his hand like that. What do you want, son? So that experience I want. I want to experience Brahman. We always say that. They say, what are you experiencing right now? Everything is that. Everything is Brahman alone. It's not that God is somewhere else and the world is, it's not that he threw the world and then he's sitting in Kailash or Vaikuntha or somewhere in some Brahma Loka. He's everywhere. Everything is that Brahman alone. That's what we have again and again studied, that there is only one Brahman appearing in all these names and forms. And why are there are good and bad people? Because of vasanas. Because we have good and bad vasanas, we were born with those, or we have developed them in this lifetime. It's only humans. Animals, there are every animal works according to his instinct. A lion will work according to his instinct, a deer, a tree, a fish, they all work according to their nature. It's only humans that have the ability to choose what I should be, whether I should be good or bad. The choice is given to us. So, constantly being aware of the divine presence, that everything I see, this chair is God, this computer is God, these people, everything is that one divinity appearing with different names and forms, just as one mud appears in different pots and cups and saucers. One gold appears in different ornaments and necklace and bangle. So similarly, one God, one Brahman, one consciousness is appearing. And the fact that I am alive, that means Brahman is functioning through me. So Brahman is not somebody, the Brahman or that Brahman who is sitting somewhere else, is within me as life, as consciousness. That's what we have been talking again and again. So constant remembering that God is functioning through me and I am not doing anything. God alone is doing everything. And whatever I see is that one divinity. That can only happen when my understanding is pure. Because Atma, this consciousness is everywhere. Everything is that. If God was separate and world was separate, then God is not all pervading. Right? When we say he is all pervading everything, then how can I be separate from God? That's why they say, na, kan kan mein Bhagwan. Every cell of my body is alive because of God's presence. There are 7 billion cells of 4 billion cells. Every cell is functioning in harmony in a human, in a plant also, in a tree. Huge trees, but every cell in the tree knows what it's supposed to do because there is one consciousness that is illumining. And what we have to do is remove what is anatma and focus on atma. Anatma means looking outward and seeing all the variety. That is called being extrovert. I like this, I don't like this is mine, that is not mine, this is good, this is bad. So that is called being extrovert. But turn inward. That's why they say, turn your mind inward and you will find that God's presence as life, as consciousness, as illumination, just as we have talked before, electricity illumines all the bulbs. So there is one consciousness, one God. Of course, in Hinduism, they have different aspects of God. We have Brahmaji, the creator, Vishnu Bhagwan, who is the sustainer. And Vishnu, to maintain this universe, takes different avatars. Many times he has come, the Dashavatara. And then Lord Shiva is there for removing the old so that there is space for new. recycling, what we call. So whatever I see is actually that one. But what we do is we distinguish, okay, God is where? He's in the temple. Everything else is not God, only that statue. Yes, that statue is God, but so is this plant, so is this tree, so is this chair, this bird, animal, fish. So whatever is anatma, remove that. Remove all the name and form and see that one. What we do is we distinguish. This is form and this is the formless. So making the mind from extrovert to introvert. That's why it said in the Upanishad, Paranchi Khani Vyatrinath Swayambhu Tasmat Paran Pashyati Nantaratmana. So Swayambhu, the Brahmaji, has created the sense organs to look outside. So our mind is always outside. But look within. That's why in meditation also we say close your eyes and focus on God's presence within. Even in bhakti, when the bhakta is singing with great devotion, he closes his eyes. You don't find a great devotee opening his eyes. His eyes are closed because he feels Bhagwan's presence within. So looking inward, that is the way to see that one divinity. So how do you experience Brahman? We are always experiencing Brahman. Brahman is there everywhere. He is in everything. To distinguish this is God and this is not God, I like this, I don't like this, is the seat of all problems. So that's why he says, how to know it? By always jnanam, nishtha jnanasya yapara. What I am telling you, oh Arjuna, what Bhagwan is telling us, always abide in that. Never separate from that. Never let this knowledge be away from you. Become one with that knowledge. So otherwise, there's no point listening to Bhagavad Gita or reading Bhagavad Gita if we don't live the Bhagavad Gita. So listen to this knowledge, think about it, and start living it. That is the whole goal of human birth. So this is the shloka number 50, where it says, I am seeing the world, that itself is an experience of God. Because otherwise, if God was not with me, how would I be able to see? How would I be able to hear, smell, taste, touch? And whatever I am seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching is that one consciousness that is called Advaita. That's why our Vedanta is called Advaita. There are no two. Everything is one. It's not that there is God and then there is Satan and there is saints and sinners. Everything is that one consciousness. So that is our understanding. And even though there are various manifestations of God, it's actually only one God. Just as in the US government, there is one president, but then he has different secretaries, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Finance, Economics, Health Secretary, different home, different departments are run by different secretaries. In India, it is Prime Minister, and then there's a Defense Minister and Finance Minister and Minister of Civil Aviation. So similarly, there is one Brahman, and these all are different gods who take care of, like there is Vayu Devta, who is Lord of Wind, and then Varun Devta of the oceans, and then Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, creator, sustainer, and the recycler, destroyer. Then there is all these various god of thunder, god of lightning, Indra, god of rain. So different aspects, departments have been given, but actually there is only one. That is called Advaita. So we'll do one more shloka today, shloka number 51. Lot of these ideas will say, oh, I have heard this before. How many times you are going to repeat it? Truth is only one. Why do we keep repeating? Because only repetition makes the ideas pakka. Like the example they give, suppose there is a very hard wood and you want to hammer a nail. How do you hit hard, 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 and then finally hit till nail is fully inside, in the wood, and it is holding that. Same way, our mind is like that hard wood. jaldi jata nahi hai, you know. So Guru again and again has to hammer, hammer, hammer until that knowledge becomes one with us. So that's why repetition, because ultimately there is only one truth. There is one Brahman and you are that. Tattvamasi, khatam ho gaya. You know, there is nothing more. But we hear it, we say, I understand it, but I don't experience it. I can't live it. The Guru says, okay, come back tomorrow. Again, next week, same. Knowledge is one, but repetition is required to hammer that knowledge into our head, just as a nail has to be hammered. It's a very beautiful example why this repetition is required. Because we always say, Are, kitni baar bologe? How many times you are going to say you are that? I have heard it, I already know it, but we don't live it. So that's why this repetition. And every Upanishad, every shloka, every chapter has a different way of looking at it, different examples. Like he has given the example of fire and smoke, which he had mentioned in many chapters back, So a lot of repetition and summarization is done in the 18th chapter. We'll do shloka number 51. Now he's starting the chapter of meditation. If you remember, many years back, we had done chapter 6, which is chapter on meditation. And that was a whole chapter. So in the next 3 shlokas, he will summarize the entire 6th chapter, Bhagwan. So throughout the 18th chapter, there is either summary or if certain points need to be emphasized, Bhagwan Sri Krishna does that. So here he is starting the topic of meditation. Shloka number 51. Buddhya vishuddhaya yuktaha धृत्यात्मानं नियम्य च शब्दादीन् विषयान् त्यक्त्वा रागद्वेषौ व्युदस्य च. Yeah, it's buddhaya. Buddhaya vishuddhaya yuktaha dhrityatmanam niyamya cha shabdadin vishayan tyaktva ragadveshau vyudasya cha. So buddhaya vishuddhaya yuktaha. Yuktaha means endowed with Vishuddha buddhi. Shuddha means pure. Vishuddha means visheshena shuddha. Very pure intellect, pure understanding, clear understanding. And dhritya, with dhriti. Dhriti we have talked about before. But dhriti means forbearance, the ability to withstand all the fluctuations in life, the ability to remain undisturbed. And Atmanam here means self, the mind, Niyamya, having controlled the mind and the senses. And why is the mind and senses difficult to control? Shabdadi Vishayan. Because the sense objects attract me. You say, I don't wish to, but somebody called and then he started or she started telling me this story, and I half an hour I was listening to gossip. I didn't want to. Or I opened my phone to answer a message, and then suddenly I got caught in watching some show and some internet, and 1 hour I didn't want to. But these objects, they attract us. Shabda adi means shabda sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Shabda is sound, Sparsha is touch, Rupa is form, Rasa is taste, and Gandha. And so, I didn't want to eat it, but kya karu, I saw this sweet and I couldn't resist, and I ate 1 and 2 and 3, and before I knew, I had eaten 5 gulab jamun. So these are all shabda. These are all attractions. Shabdadin vishayans tyaktva. So give up this attachment to objects. Does not mean you don't enjoy, make your life dry, but do not depend on objects for happiness and live a life of moderation, not overindulging. Tyaktva and raga dvesha, likes and dislikes, vyudasya cha, give them up, give up likes and dislikes. So pure understanding, we have heard that clear understanding of what Bhagwan is telling us in the Bhagavad Gita, and abiding in that we already talked about. And then Dritya with Driti, Atmanam Niyamya, controlling means Shama and Dama. We have studied in the Tattva Bodh, those who are studying on Thursday. And these are the Shat Sampati, Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhan. So Shama and Dama, Shama is control of the mind and Dama is control of the senses. So my mind goes out. So when I'm sitting for meditation or puja, I hear a sound. So that becomes, oh, what is that sound? And then my mind goes out and I no longer am meditating or thinking about. Or I am sitting for meditation, there is no sound, but my mind starts thinking, oh, what will happen? What will I do? What did I do yesterday? So that is either the mind runs out or the senses disturbed. So with Dhriti, with fortitude, firmly, I control my mind, control my senses, and do not let my mind run out, but do what I am supposed to do. And at this moment, when I'm sitting for meditation, my mind should be centered on the self, God's presence within. I should at that time not be thinking about what I'm going to do after meditation, or what I did before, or my family, or my things. I am a seeker of truth. So, and if any sounds come, I should ignore them. If any smell comes, there is coffee in the next room. No, my mind should be on God alone. Dhriti. Because in this world, there are so many choices. If you go to the restaurant, previously there were 3 ice cream: vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. Now, chocolate itself, they have 10 different varieties: Dutch chocolate, and Swiss chocolate, and dark chocolate, and caramel, and all these. If you open the ice cream page, there's 3 pages of desserts. And then so the menus, they're becoming like volumes. Yesterday we went to BJ's restaurant, and in previously used to be 1 or 2 page. Now the menu is itself 8-10 pages, because there are 3 pages of desserts. You open on the TV, there used to be only one, Doordarshan. Remember? I think those who remember Doordarshan. And then in US also only 3 channels: NBC, CBS, ABC. That's it. You couldn't watch a fourth. Now 180 channel. I wonder kaun dekhta hoga, who watches these, and they all seem to be doing fine. They all have ads, 180, and this is only TV. Then if you go on what do you call, streaming, and CN, all this different Netflix and Prime Video, and oh my God, it goes on. So much variety. No wonder our mind never stays on God, because everything is so many choices, and all these become obstacles in our spiritual journey. All these looking outward, constantly our mind is busy. I don't have, and you ask somebody, sit for meditation, are time nahi hai, I am so busy doing what? 180 channels he's flipping, on his TV, just, or on the phone, just. So the point is that we have time, but we don't have time for God. We don't have time for self-improvement. We have time for everything else. And that becomes an obstacle. So they say slowly remove these layers, this layer of that I am the body, and then the mental layer, and then the intellectual layer, and then the vasanas and the ego. All of these become obstacles in my spiritual journey. Remove them and focus on that one God, one consciousness. And that is what is meditation. And raga dvesha vyudasya, giving up likes and dislikes. I like this, I don't like this, I hate it. That's a very favorite word. I hate this, especially kids. Nothing to hate. Everything is Bhagwan's creation. Even a blade of grass is that. is that alone. So you take care of situations, but without having this idea of likes and dislikes, love and hate. Everything is divine, that understanding. So here Bhagavan will tell us this is, and the next two shlokas are also about meditation. So we'll cover one, maybe two next week. Next week will be a short class, will be a half an hour class because it is Puja Gurudev Jayanti. We celebrate, it will be 108 years since Puja Gurudev was born in Kerala. And so he was born in 1916, so 108. So it will be 108th year is starting of his. And so it's a very auspicious year for us. So we will be celebrating Puja. So we'll have a half an hour Bhagavad Gita class. Then we'll assemble in the hall. We'll do Paduka Puja. And it is also Mother's Day next Sunday. And as those of you who have been coming to the mission, on Mother's Day, all fathers cook. So fathers will be cooking next Sunday, early morning. They come at 5 in the morning, start cooking, and then the mothers and children will eat. So please join us. If you are a mother, come and enjoy. If you are a father, please help cook because Satish Desai needs help. So if you can help, that will be nice. So he is coordinating. So if you see him at the mission, or you can call him and volunteer. So we need help. So next Sunday will be Mother's Day. So half an hour class, and then we'll do the, can we project the Paduka Puja on Zoom? We can have another. So we'll have two computers. One will do the Gita class, and then we'll shift to the main hall where you can watch Guru Paduka Puja being done. And we'll talk a little bit about Gurudev and Mother at that time. And there is a beautiful bhajan, Matra Stavanam, that was composed by Tejo Mainanji, which will be sung with the meanings. So that is next Sunday. We have a few minutes. If anybody has any questions or comments, we have about 9 minutes. I can put it on gallery view so we can see everybody. It's not happening. I don't know why. Yeah, there. Okay, we have everybody on the screen and also in the audience in the live. So anybody has any questions, comments, anything you would like to add? Or yeah, go ahead.
Olden times, used to hear a lot of grandmothers and mothers used to talk like, oh, this nowadays children are so wild and so dressing not properly, and what will happen to the world. But see, we are now those parents, but the life goes on just fine.
Right, right. Yeah, Hansaban said very beautifully that our grandparents, when we were young, they used to say, oh, children don't listen, they don't dress, and what will happen to them? But now we say that about our children. In fact, there was one person who said, oh, children of today don't listen, what will happen? And that was said 2000 years ago in Egypt. Same thing was said. So it will go on and on. Shankaracharya ji said it also in the 8th century. So people are the same. People are the same. And every generation worries about the next generation. But main thing we have to worry about is God, attached to God. So that, but thank you for that comment. Yes. Yeah, Lata, go ahead, please.
How do you know in young child that what his swabhav is going to be? And if the idea is that you are going to pursue what you are born with, how are you going to be progressing differently down the road?
No, I think what they mean is that you come to know that what the child is good in. And it doesn't have to be when he's newborn or 1 or 2, but as they grow, you can see their interest. Like I mean, our family also, I went into medicine. My brother went into computers and engineering. He wanted nothing to do with medicine. And my sister is a psychologist. So same parents, same family, but three different fields. So slowly this will manifest. And you don't force anybody, but let children do what they are good at. And you can discover that as like they tell the story of this person who had three sons and he took them to a toy store. One picked up a hammer, one picked up a stethoscope, and one picked up a paintbrush. So you know from their actions what they are good at. And we are not saying that people could change. There are some people who become lawyers, and then at age 45 or 50 they say, I always wanted to do medicine. And so people give up their thriving law practice and go into medicine. So maybe that was his real desire. He wanted to be a doctor, but somehow he was forced into law. So sooner or later, swabhavastu pravartate, Bhagavan Krishna says, the swabhava will manifest. So the wise parents see what their children are good at, encourage them, but do not force them or put them in a pigeonhole that this alone is good and this is not. So, but yeah,
Sorry
everybody
to
grows
take
according.
up one other question on the same way. This it's a controversial subject, political. Would this LGBTQ community, would they have their swabhava and
I
they
think so.
realize down the road, and would as a society be judging them or being kind to them, or how do we treat them?
I think, in my opinion, that's my personal. It's nothing to do with politics, but I feel that this is inborn. It is swabhava. A person who is gay is born with those tendencies. A person who changes their sex really inside was very unhappy. There may be a boy who wants to be a girl or a girl who wants. In my opinion, if somebody's, you discuss it, understand it is not because my friend is saying or it's not a fashionable, but genuinely there are people who are attracted to the same sex or who do not want to be that sex they were born with. So if after discussing, after psychological evaluation, if everything, if the person really, really strongly believes, I would, in my opinion, I would permit them, not encourage them, but permit them to do what is. You can tell, person who is homosexual or lesbian or gay, all of those. So I don't think one should interfere with that.
And you were also in the next verse, you said, perfection in actionlessness. Is that you attain while you're doing action, or
Yes.
you are attaining that while you are in meditation?
No, throughout every action. In every action, he is actionless. He or she is
Yes.
actionless because I am that Atma, and in my presence, these actions are going on. So the person, Puja Gurudev worked, as we said, 43 years,
Right.
20 hours a day, but he remained actionless. He used to say, they used to ask him, who will maintain this mission after you are gone? He says, the one who is maintaining it right now. He will maintain.
Right.
I don't do anything. That was his understanding. I am a non-doer. And most of these, realized that, same thing. Jesus said, the Father in heaven and I are one. He found no difference between himself and God. So that is actionlessness. That I don't do anything.
Thank you.
God functions through me. Thank you. So that is Naishkarmya Siddhi. I think time is almost up. Any quick question or comment? Otherwise, we'll end. So we'll see you next week for half an hour, and then we'll do the Guru Paduka Puja. So thank you very much. Hari Om. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namah. Hari Om.